Well, here in New York, the medical examiner says the death of Mark Madoff was a suicide. Bernie Madoff's eldest son was found dead Saturday, 2 years to the day after his father's arrest. Bernie Madoff is now serving a 150-year sentence at a federal prison in North Carolina. It's unlikely that he'll ever be free again. His wife, Ruth Madoff, had to give up everything: the mansions, the cars, the cash, the boats, all but $2.5 million, and she now lives in Florida. As for others, Madoff's chief financial officer, Frank DePascali, he pled guilty to fraud, and he is cooperating with the government. Annette Bongiorno worked for Madoff for more than 40 years, as well as Joanne Krupe, who worked there for 27 years. Well, both were arrested last month and accused of taking part in the scam. In the meantime, the trustee in the Madoff case has filed more than $50 billion to get money back from Madoff's victims. With more on Madoff, we're joined this morning by Erin Arvedlund. She's the author of this book, Too Good to Be True, The Rise and Fall of Bernie Madoff, if you can see that. Erin, great to have you with us. I appreciate it. You know, this has been covered, of course, over the weekend, and I want to be sensitive to the fact that we are dealing with somebody who's committed suicide, a death in the family. But give me your take on what happened here.
I think what happened is that Frank DePascali, who was Bernie Madoff's right-hand man, has basically started singing, and he is starting to implicate pretty much anyone who was involved. I think, and this is probably a controversial view, but I think that Mark Madoff may have been involved in the Ponzi scheme. One of the suits, actually, that the trustee filed on Friday mentions him as a marketing contact for his father's phony hedge fund. And all along, as we've heard, you know, Bernie Madoff took the fall. He said he did it alone, and we now know that to be a lie.
Right,
so,
right.
Unfortunately,
what lawsuit, by the way, are you referring to, Erin, when you just quoted that?
Yeah, this is the suit that the trustee filed against Sonia Cohn, who was an Austrian banker. And he sued her for $19.6 billion, which is basically the total amount that was lost in the Ponzi scheme. And Mark's name is mentioned in that suit, and it was just filed on Friday. And
mentioned as a marketer. What does that mean?
Yes. Well, essentially, the whole Ponzi scheme was just one big marketing scam. And they needed fresh cash all the time to be coming in, and that's partly what Sonia Cohn did. Now, Mark Madoff's name was never mentioned as somebody who either knew about the scam or was involved in it or was raising money. So Friday was the first time that we've seen his name mentioned in any of these suits.
What about his brother, Peter? Or Andrew, I'm sorry,
Peter
Andrew.
Madoff. Well, you're right. Bernie's brother was Peter, and Bernie had two sons, Mark and Andrew. Andrew wasn't mentioned in any of the suits that have been filed up to date, except the one that Irving Picard filed against the entire family. He's trying to get back, I believe it's about $250 million from the family.
$250 million. And do they have $250 million left?
Well, this is the question, right? So the trustee is trying to figure out where all the money went, who took out what money when, and who's owed what. It's a total mess. So that's what the trustee's looking at right now.
Right, that's Picard's big job. Tell me what was the, we were just going through the list of people and sort of what's happened to them. But for Mark Madoff, I'm reading the reports that he had a hard time finding a job on Wall Street, and yet at the same time he was living in Soho, which is one of the most expensive places in New York. What is their life like?
Well, I don't think materially their lives changed very much at all. Mark and Andrew were still living in, and I guess you could say they were still people of means. And, Ruth Madoff was still living in Florida. She travels freely. I know she's changed her hair color, so I don't know whether that's to avoid, scrutiny.
Right.
But the family's lifestyle has not changed drastically, other than the fact that they had to give up the penthouse in Manhattan and all the yachts.
Okay.
And some of the expensive cars.
Okay. Erin, we're going to have to leave it there, but I appreciate you shedding some light on this. Erin Arvedlund talking about the Bernie Madoff case. And